In the vastness of the ocean where light fades long before a shadow can form, there exists a silence unlike anything on the surface. No sound, no current, no life sign penetrates it, unaltered, only rare vibrations that feel like the breathing of the planet itself. Here, at depths beyond 10 kilometers, pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres. Metal bends, glass melts. Every law of physics seems to falter. Yet within this darkness, in this heavy, unmoving abyss, there is motion, a slow, deliberate movement belonging to something ancient, something that should no longer exist. The megalodon. Carcharicles megalodon, the name once belonged to the sovereign of prehistoric seas. Officially, it vanished 3 million years ago, replaced by its smaller descendant, the great white shark. But the ocean is not a place that forgets easily. It hoards its secrets with geological patience. And if there exists even a faint possibility that something endured the ages unchanged, it could only have survived here in a realm untouched by sunlight or time. The first signs did not come from sight, but from sound. Hydroacoustic stations scattered across the Pacific began detecting deep, rhythmic vibrations that matched no known marine species. The frequencies were too low, the amplitudes too strong. Some of these pulses originated from depths beyond 10,000 meters. They bounced off the trench walls, forming echo patterns like the sonar map of a living mountain in motion. At such depths, water temperature hovers around 2 degrees Celsius, and oxygen is nearly absent. Yet life, in its endless adaptability, has found a way to endure here. If evolution had ever perfected the art of survival, it would be visible in this domain of extremes. Perhaps some prehistoric predator, one that had ruled the oceans, found refuge in these crushing black waters. Under constant pressure and eternal darkness, its body might have changed, but its essence, its hunger, remained. To imagine a megalodon in the modern ocean is to conjure a paradox of biology. Paleontology tells us it reached 18 meters in length, weighing over 60 tons. But deep in the trench, evolution would not favor size alone. It would sculpt density and endurance. Bone replaced by reinforced cartilage, buoyancy replaced by compact mass. Its body could glow faintly, its tissues laced with bioluminescent cells. Its senses might stretch beyond vision, detecting faint electromagnetic fields in the water. What we would call a monster, nature would simply call adaptation. Some evidence exists ambiguous, but persistent. On the shores of Micronesia and the Philippines, carcasses of sperm whales have been found with circular bite marks of enormous span. The radius of the arc surpassed anything that could be made by a known shark. The compression strength needed to inflict such wounds exceeded 20 metric tons per square centimeter beyond any modern predator. Scientists attributed it to collisions or scavengers, but the data refused to align neatly. If a creature with that bite survived, its metabolism must have evolved into an anaerobic system, fueled not by oxygen but by sulfur and methane chemical energy harvested from the ocean floor itself. Such an organism would be less a shark and more a living biomechanical engine of survival. The stability of the Mariana Trench offers a strange kind of logic to this possibility. For millions of years, its environment has remained almost unchanged. Climate shifts, glacial cycles, even asteroid impacts, none of it reaches this far. If a creature descended here during the late Pliocene, it could have escaped extinction not by adaptation, but by stasis. Evolution froze, and time simply forgot to move. Several autonomous probes descending into the trench have recorded enormous silhouettes moving behind clouds of plankton. Officially, these anomalies were attributed to sonar artifacts or instrument interference. Yet the movement patterns, wave-like, rhythmic, pulsed, matched the tail motion of large aquatic animals. The intervals between impulses indicated an object at least 15 meters long. Impossible, perhaps, but not disproven. If a megalodon truly exists in this abyss, its hunting strategy must be unlike anything known. Down here, there are no schools of fish, no whales, only drifting particles and colonies of microorganisms feeding on chemical vents. The great predator may no longer kill it, may harvest. It could drift near hydrothermal fields, consuming organisms drawn to the mineral plumes, absorbing nutrients from the very chemistry of the Earth. A regulator, not a destroyer, maintaining balance in a closed, ancient ecosystem. Imagine its motion, a slow, monumental glide through liquid darkness. Its skin rough like volcanic glass, its body immense but silent. From microfissures in its flesh seeps faintly glowing blood luminescent, like the ghosts of its prey. It does not see in the way we do. Instead, it perceives the electric heartbeat of other beings, each pulse a flicker in a field of endless night. Speed is irrelevant here. Power lies in stillness. The creature can wait motionless for days, perhaps weeks, until the next vibration of life reaches it. When hydrothermal vents awaken and the deep currents warm slightly, the giant rises. The rising plumes carry small life upward, and the titan follows. Its jaws close slowly, almost reverently, as if obeying a law older than predation itself. The act is neither hunger nor aggression, it is continuity. Science, cautious by nature, does not confirm such possibilities. It demands evidence, reproducibility, observation. But how do you observe a world that crushes every instrument sent to it? Humanity has mapped the surfaces of Mars more precisely than the ocean floor beneath its own feet. If there is a place where the ancient still endures, unseen and unchanged, it is here at the very bottom of knowledge. The megalodon, then, is not merely a fossil of imagination. It is a reminder of scale, of time, of ignorance. It embodies the truth that extinction is only a surface phenomenon. The deep ocean does not end species, it archives them. And somewhere in that cold, eternal archive, something still moves. Something that never stopped. In the domain where light has never existed, the very substance of water changes. It becomes dense as metal, viscous as oil, pressing on every surface with crushing indifference. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, pressure exceeds 11,000 tons per square meter, more than enough to pulverize steel, to reduce glass to fluid. And yet, life endures here. Not the life of movement and sound, but a quiet persistence, a biological whisper that defies physics itself. This world knows no day or night. Time is not measured by rotation or light, but by the slow pulse of the Earth. The trench is nearly timeless. Its temperature, a constant 2 degrees Celsius. Its darkness, complete. There is no color, no reflection, no direction. Light is not merely absent, it has never been conceived here. Every photon that dares to descend is swallowed before it can think of being seen. The abyss is not the negation of light, but its opposite, the space where the concept itself dissolves. Here, biology forgets the rules it wrote for itself. There are no plants, no photosynthesis, no food chains as we know them. The foundation of existence is chemistry, not sunlight. From cracks in the ocean floor, geysers of mineral-rich water rise black, hot, and toxic to surface life. Within them, bacteria convert inorganic gases like hydrogen sulfide and methane into living matter. These microorganisms form the base of a slow, alien ecology. Worms, crustaceans, and gelatinous creatures feed upon them, forming a web of existence where death and decay are indistinguishable from growth. In this ecosystem, life and geology are one. If the megalodon has indeed survived, it must have adapted to this world in unimaginable ways. Under such conditions, evolution becomes an architect of the impossible. Cartilage densifies until it is nearly bone. Gills collapse, replaced by tissues capable of absorbing dissolved elements directly from water. The circulatory system transforms into a hydraulic network, operating under pressures that would shatter every living cell known to science. Hemoglobin gives way to new proteins, structures binding sulfur and iron, enabling energy exchange without oxygen. The result is not an organism, but a living engine, a fusion of biology and the elemental forces of the deep. To survive here, the megalodon would have become anaerobic, a creature freed from breathing. Its muscles would derive energy from chemical reactions similar to those of the bacteria that thrive around hydrothermal vents. The process is slow, almost inert, but speed means nothing where time itself has ceased to flow. The predator no longer hunts, it waits. One feeding might sustain it for months, perhaps years. Its metabolism would be an act of patience, not aggression. Computer simulations modeling such a creature suggest drastic morphological changes. Under 1,000 atmospheres of pressure, even the smallest cavity becomes a weakness. Its body would therefore be compact, streamlined not for speed but for resistance. The once great hunter of open seas would now resemble a massive, smooth monolith. Its skin would lose the sandpaper roughness of surface sharks, evolving into a dense, rubberized armor that resists both pressure and friction. The iconic triangular fins may have shortened, its head grown broader, its movement deliberate. In the abyss, hydrodynamics yields to geometry. Perhaps it glows. Bioluminescence is common in the deep ocean, yet in such a giant it would serve a different purpose, not as lure or camouflage, but as regulation. The glow of the megalodon could function as an internal thermostat, balancing temperature and pressure through chemical light. A faint pulse of blue, invisible to the human eye, radiating through its blood and cartilage, a heartbeat made of photons. The deep does not need beauty, but it creates it nonetheless. To think of the psychology of the deep is futile. There is no fear, no aggression, no hierarchy. Life here does not struggle, it endures. Motion is rare, and every gesture carries the weight of eternity. If the megalodon exists, it is not a hunter in the human sense, but an extension of the environment itself. Its senses might be tied to the tectonic pulse of the Earth, moving in rhythm with seismic vibrations. When the plates shift, it shifts. When the planet exhales geothermal heat, it stirs. It does not live in the trench, it is the trench, animated by the same energy that shapes continents. Deprived of light, its eyes would have withered. In their place, electroreceptive organs, descendants of the ampullae of Lorenzini found in modern sharks, would have evolved into a full-body sensory grid. Each oscillation of an electric field, each biological signal in the surrounding darkness, would appear as a flicker of life across its perception. The megalodon would see the world not as shapes, but as currents of energy, a tapestry of living voltage, faint and fleeting. It would see life itself. Marine biologists use the term abyssal stability to describe ecosystems that evolve at an almost geological pace. In such isolation, natural selection slows to near immobility. Species that vanish on the surface may linger below, unchanged for millions of years. Coelacanths and giant isopods prove this. They are remnants of deep time, trapped in environments where the clock of evolution ticks too slowly to matter. If the megalodon found its refuge here, extinction would never have reached it. In the deep, nothing truly dies, it merely stops moving fast enough to be seen. But how would it feed? The absence of large prey demands an alternative source of energy. Perhaps the megalodon transformed from predator to filter feeder, drawing in entire clouds of microscopic organisms, straining water through its mouth like a living sieve. Evolution in the abyss favors efficiency over dominance. The greatest survival strategy is not power, but stillness. The megalodon of the deep could be a creature of perfect economy, each flick of its tail a precise expenditure, each opening of its jaws a measured act of conservation. It would embody the law of minimal motion. The Mariana Trench, in this view, is not a place, but a threshold. It marks the limit where matter begins to forget its state, where water itself hardens into crystal and time collapses into pressure. Down here, the concept of ancient is meaningless. For surface life, millions of years have passed. For the deep, it is still the same day. In that eternal moment, the megalodon is not a survivor, it is a contemporary of everything that ever lived. Thus, the hypothesis of its existence is not born from fantasy, but from logic. Everything that can adapt eventually does. Everything that can slow down enough to outlast time becomes immortal. The deep is not a tomb, it is a shelter. And somewhere in that shelter, beyond the reach of light or reason, the shadow of a titan still drifts slow, patient, unending. Every scientific mystery begins with an anomaly, something that does not fit the model, that resists explanation. In oceanography, anomalies are almost the rule. The Mariana Trench, the deepest wound on Earth, is not merely a geological structure, but a repository of unsolved data. Every signal, every vibration, every pressure fluctuation recorded here carries an element of doubt. Some are errors, others coincidences, but a few persistent and structured hint at something more, the possibility of a living presence beneath comprehension. The first documented irregularity appeared in 1997. Hydrophones, operated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, captured a low-frequency signal later nicknamed the bloop. It emanated from the southern Pacific, thousands of kilometers from human interference. Its structure resembled that of a biological sound, yet its amplitude was far beyond that of any known creature. Some scientists attributed it to cracking icebergs, but the spectral rhythm, the pattern of repetition, suggested something with a pulse. If it were biological, its source would have been an organism several times larger than a blue whale. Since then, similar anomalies have reappeared sporadically. In 2004, a Japanese deep ocean monitoring system near the Mariana Trench recorded a moving object at a depth of 10,200 meters. Sonar data indicated a mass exceeding 15 meters in length, traveling at several knots, leaving behind a turbulent wake over 100 meters long. The readings were dismissed as equipment interference. Nothing living should move actively under such pressure. Yet identical signatures were later detected by independent sensors, often synchronized with periods of tectonic activity. Coincidence became pattern. Satellite thermal scans above the trench have also revealed unexplainable fluctuations. Brief bursts of warmth rising from the deep, too strong to be volcanic, too structured to be random. Some oceanographers propose that these anomalies were the thermal signatures of massive moving bodies, displacing cold water with their own stored heat. A creature of immense size, even one adapted to near-freezing conditions, would radiate measurable warmth while ascending. The idea bordered on myth, but the data remained. There were physical traces as well. Along the western Pacific shores, the carcasses of whales occasionally washed up, bearing semicircular wounds, perfect arcs of destruction. The bite radius exceeded that of any known predator. Microscopic examination of the tissue edges revealed tearing consistent with serrated teeth roughly 15 centimeters long. Official explanations ranged from propeller damage to collisions with other large animals, but the symmetry of the pattern told a different story. The compression marks suggested a bite force of more than 20 tons per square centimeter, consistent not with machinery, but with a jaw. In 2013, a case off the coast of Australia drew renewed attention. Marine biologists had tagged a great white shark with a temperature depth recorder. Several months later, the device was recovered floating hundreds of miles away. The data revealed an impossible sequence. 4 days after tagging, the shark had plunged nearly 2 kilometers down, the surrounding temperature spiking to 37 degrees Celsius warm-blooded heat. Inside a stomach, the shark had been swallowed whole. No known predator could survive at that depth, let alone drag such a kill downward, but a deep adapted megalodon could. Physical evidence, however, remains elusive. Fragments of supposed tissue from deep-sea dredging often degrade beyond genetic identification. Yet in 2019, a deep-sea probe recovered an enormous tooth embedded in its metal hull near the Challenger Deep. The tooth measured over 10 centimeters across. At first, it was believed to be a fossil, carried by underwater currents, but analysis revealed intact, organic, enamel, modern, unmineralized. Radioisotope dating was inconclusive. The extreme environment had erased any trace of measurable decay. The sample was quietly archived. Officially, it does not exist. Some researchers have proposed the concept of the abyssal nomad, a species capable of traversing the deepest plains between oceanic trenches. These abyssal corridors, vast and mostly uncharted, could form a hidden network linking the planet's subduction zones. Within this network, a colossal organism could migrate undetected for centuries, following geothermal gradients like invisible highways. To such a being, the ocean floor would not be a prison, but a continent. Hydroacoustic maps have occasionally shown something stranger still: regions of negative reflection where sonar waves vanish instead of bouncing back. These void shadows stretch for kilometers, moving slowly, then fading. Engineers suggest they might be plumes of methane or temperature inversions, but their timing aligns too closely with those same unexplained acoustic pulses recorded over decades. A coincidence? Or a silhouette too vast to perceive in one frame? Among deep-sea technicians, a phrase circulates unofficially: predator silence. It describes an abrupt, total drop in background noise, an acoustic vacuum that sometimes occurs for several minutes before normal oceanic sounds return. The sea is never silent. It hums with the friction of currents, the crackle of thermal vents, the faint drumming of life. When that sound vanishes, something enormous must be absorbing it. Over the last decade, such silences have been recorded more than 20 times near the trench. None have been explained. Science, by its nature, distrusts what it cannot reproduce. Anecdotes, however eerie, are not data. And yet, the recurrence of anomalies, the consistency of their timing, the interlocking evidence across sound, temperature, and matter, all these form a quiet geometry of implication. Perhaps what we are observing is not the return of an extinct species, but the persistence of a principle. Nature does not discard what works, it hides it. The megalodon may not be a single creature, but a manifestation of life's ability to retreat beyond observation. If something enormous moves through the deepest parts of the ocean, it does not care to be seen. It leaves no bones, no breath, no light, only absences, a silence where there should be noise, a gap where there should be reflection. Its existence is measured not by what it gives off, but by what it takes away. And when the instruments fall quiet, when even the hum of the abyss stops for a heartbeat, perhaps that is not a malfunction at all. Perhaps it is the sound of something listening. The ocean is the memory of the planet. Everything that has vanished from the surface continues to exist within it, transformed, compressed, suspended. Each drop of seawater contains fragments of everything that ever lived: the atoms of ancient fish, the dust of vanished continents, the residue of forgotten storms. In this way, the ocean is not merely habitat, but archive. Yet, at a certain depth, the archive becomes alive. There, at the threshold of pressure and silence, the past ceases to be history and becomes a state of being. The megalodon may be one of the ocean's living memories. To science, it is a hypothesis. To geology, a brief episode in time. To myth, the return of a god. But to the ocean itself, perhaps it is not an animal at all. It is a process, the embodiment of persistence. What humans call extinction is, for the deep, only transition. When a species disappears from the surface, its echo descends, preserved in the chemistry of the abyss. The deep sea does not erase, it stores. It is the subconscious of life, and the megalodon is one of its thoughts that never ended. Sediment samples from the trench reveal a slow, almost glacial tempo of evolution. Down here, change does not follow the rhythm of years, but of epochs. There are no extinctions, only transformations so gradual they cannot be seen. A creature like the megalodon could persist not as a population, but as a process of matter, a self-sustaining form suspended between life and geology. Its flesh may long ago have turned to mineral, its metabolism to chemistry, yet it would still move because the earth itself moves. It would still breathe because the planet trembles. To the abyss, motion and existence are the same. Some biologists speculate that certain trench zones form closed biological loops, pockets where matter circulates endlessly. Within these isolated systems, organisms recycle their own waste, feeding upon the byproducts of their neighbors, in a cycle that could last millions of years. If the megalodon survived, it might not be an individual creature, but a whole ecosystem condensed into a single form, a body that functions as a colony. Its organs could operate like reactors, its tissues like symbiotic habitats. The animal and its environment would be indistinguishable. The predator would have become the planet itself. To the human mind, such existence is terrifying, not because of its size, but because of what it represents, a life entirely outside control. The ocean has always embodied the unknown. Every descent is an act of surrender, a negotiation with forces too ancient to measure. Our fear of the megalodon is therefore not biological but philosophical. It is the fear of confronting something that has never needed us, that does not even notice us. Science can map the trenches, but it cannot measure indifference. In the absence of light, even human reason begins to flicker. Divers who have descended beyond a kilometer describe a sense of inversion, as though the ocean is not around them, but within them. There, perception becomes unreliable, time dilates, and the boundary between observation and imagination blurs. Perhaps the megalodon exists not in the physical abyss, but in the psychological one, an archetype of depth itself. The monster beneath the waves and the monster within the mind may be the same. Yet that does not make it less real. Symbols are organisms of their own kind. They live in consciousness and evolve through fear. Humanity has mastered mountains, skies, and space, yet the ocean remains a forbidden frontier. Only a handful of vessels have touched the bottom of the Mariana Trench, and none have lingered long enough to understand it. Their missions last hours. The abyss measures its time in centuries. We compare technologies, but we forget scales. Against the patience of water, all machines are ephemeral. So when people imagine that somewhere below still moves an ancient hunter, they are not irrational, they are correct in spirit. If the universe can harbor stars billions of years old, why should the Earth not preserve one of its own predators? Philosophers of science have called the sea the mirror of the human condition. Everything we fear to know about ourselves, we project into it. Depth, silence, darkness. In that sense, the megalodon becomes a reflection of the subconscious, the manifestation of survival stripped of purpose. Its darkness is our own, its silence, our unspoken memory. It does not oppose knowledge, it completes it. Without darkness, understanding has no contour. Without the unknown, discovery has no meaning. That is why the question of its existence persists, not because we need an answer, but because we need the mystery. Technology is making the ocean more transparent, but each layer we unveil only multiplies what remains unseen. Cameras capture lights with no source, hydrophones hear pulses that vanish mid-wave, pressure sensors register beats that mimic a slow heartbeat. Science can explain these things, but perhaps it should not. Explanation, too eagerly applied, can dissolve wonder. Mystery is not the enemy of reason, it is its foundation. Without it, inquiry collapses into arrogance. The megalodon, whether fact or myth, stands as the ultimate symbol of biological endurance. It reminds us that evolution is not a ladder, but a labyrinth, that progress is not a straight line toward perfection, but an endless branching of possibilities. Somewhere in those branches lie forms that chose not to change, that found equilibrium in slowness. The deep ocean is the laboratory of such forms. There, under impossible pressure and perpetual cold, life perfects its resilience. The megalodon, in this sense, is not an animal. It is the principle of survival itself. If humanity ever encounters it not through sonar, but face to face, it will not be a discovery. It will be recognition. Recognition that the world has always been greater than our models of it, that knowledge is only the thinnest film atop a reality we barely touch. The ocean is not a territory we explore, but a state of existence that tolerates our presence for a while. And somewhere beneath us, in kilometers of compressed time and absolute silence, something still breathes, not the past, but its echo. When the last probe sinks into that darkness, when its sensors fail and its final transmission trembles upward through miles of water, perhaps that signal will carry the answer humanity has always sought. The deep is not empty. It simply does not wish to be found. We upload new videos every single day, so make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss what's next. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, it really helps the channel grow. Tell us in the comments what you'd like to see next. Your ideas might be in our next upload. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of our community. Stay tuned, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.